And we're back,
We are live. Good afternoon, Mr. Gassert.
Hey, good afternoon. It is another magnificent Monday, as I like to say, when you first wake up on this particular day. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I know I did. I'm sure you did as well, Tom. And you're still recouping from your surgery. You're able to walk and get
Yep.
round out and all that fun stuff. So that's a good deal.
It's a process. It doesn't
I hear you.
a knee replacement is pretty significant type surgery, but um, got to get the muscles back in shape and flexibility and that type of thing. So I've got a series of exercises I do,
Good deal.
and I'm using my ASEA for relief and recovery.
Oh
So
my!
that gets me through. That gets me
I hear you.
through it. I'd encourage anybody to take a look at it if they've got recovery issues, pains,
Yep.
discomfort, that type of thing. It's amazing.
Well, Tom, I'm just going to start off. Tell me what you're grateful for today.
I'm number one. I'm grateful for my health. Once you go through a debilitating thing like a surgery, you
Right.
appreciate what you have or what you almost lost. But
Yes.
for my health, I'm grateful for my spouse. I'm grateful for my businesses. I'm grateful for God, who
Right.
keeps me straight, keeps me on a narrow path, and just grateful for you. Grateful for this opportunity, and I'm grateful to be able to have some conversation with an amazing person that we'll be interviewing here in a short bit. So,
Oh yeah, I can't wait to get into this one. This is going to be cool. And just real quick, what am I grateful for? As always, I'm here on this planet, man, and still rocking and rolling and going for it. And this Friday, I had a chance to go see my granddaughter, and that was even more incentive to keep rocking and rolling and moving forward. So, with that, about our guest tonight, this gentleman is, by the way, he is a grandfather. He is a father, husband. Um, amongst that, a business owner, entrepreneur, and he brings a wealth of knowledge. And I always like to compare Randy, and he doesn't even know this, to my brother-in-law Vernon, who was in the steel industry way back in the day, homes, building steel homes, fabrications when it wasn't so popular. But he was kind of a visionary in that industry. So Randy and I, believe it or not, met about a year ago. MetalCon was the trade show. Now, we knew one another just like Tom and I know one another virtually, but we actually got to touch, feel, see, and that was kind of cool. I had a great time. We hooked up, and I was doing my thing, and he had various things to do. Randy, if you don't know it, he's a speaker. He's a podcaster, you name it, the guy can do it. He's old school. And tonight we're going to find out, like he always called himself a road warrior. When I first met Randy virtually, back in the days of COVID, those ancient days, I like to kid about it. But Randy, stepped up and he took the best of both worlds. I commend him on that, particularly in his industry. And he really is an industry leader. Just real quick, I do have to read this. This is a quote from someone, and I'll tell you who at the end. Randy has been an inspiration in the construction industry for decades, but with his adoption of multimedia sales techniques, he's taken it to the next level. He's written a book, Asphalt and Algorithms, outlines how he transitioned into that new era, utilizing technology in a way that maintained relationships and drove sales. And that's what he's really about. And it's a must read from an expert who can offer great sales advice for any industry. That was written by Heidi J. Ellsworth. She's the CEO of the Coffee Shops. Check that out. With that, I gave you a big build up here, Randy. I'm going to bring you in now. Here he is.
Wow, I that was so good. I could have wrote that myself. That's
I
amazing.
know you may have.
No, I did
Um,
not.
I know. Look out, AI. It's everywhere. But
It is
Randy,
everywhere.
it's great to have you here. And we got a lot of questions going on here. But uh, tell us I've just got to ask this question. I told you I was going to get into it. How did you develop the content for your book, and how did you come up with this title?
Well, it's funny that the content was based, guys, on, and by the way, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Oh, I need to correct one thing real quick. I'm a great grandpa too. Great
Oh, I'm
grandpa.
sorry, I
Oh,
missed
that's
that.
okay. My little guys, if they see this, would be quite upset. No,
Okay,
just kidding.
my
No,
apologies.
I used to think I was a great grandpa before my granddaughter, who's the father of my two great grandsons. She says, "Well, now you've always been a great grandpa. Now you just have the title." I thought that was kind of cool. But
You're now a greater grandfather.
I'm a greater one, exactly. But no, but thanks for having me on, and I love the question. The book, the whole content came from my dad. I mean, I dedicated the book to my dad and to my wife, the Dixie chick. And my dad, I was an only child, adopted when I was 3 days old. So I definitely have only child syndrome. And anybody that don't believe that, just spend 5 minutes with me and you'll know. Tom, we was in Atlanta together. You picked up on it probably about a minute and a half in. But so the content of the book really came from, as you mentioned so well at the start, the old school way of doing things. I grew up on a farm in mid Michigan. I learned old school tactics, if that's the right word, and it's really not a word I like because tactics sounds negative, but I learned to do things the right way from my dad, and he taught me a lot of lessons, and so I before I move on to the content, how I come up with it, I did this more than anything. Somebody said, what would happen? Because I got the book here and it's so exciting to have in my hand. And they said, what's the reason you wrote the book? I said, you know what? If I never sell a single copy, but I have one to put on the coffee table, then I can say I did it for dad, right? That is, at the end of the day, that would be a success. So it's already a success. It actually drops today on Amazon. We can talk about that later. But the content, as you so well said, Mark and Tom both, but it started out 40 some years ago when I was in the sales rep world with the old payphones. And for the young folks, that's that little thing that hangs up there that's in the antique stores now, with the dialing cards. You had to dial 16 numbers, with an icy cold phone, and then nobody was there. Then you went to the next one and you went to the next
Oh
one.
my.
We all remember those days, right? So that's where I built my career, though. One customer at a time, bro hugging, babe kissing babies like a politician, pizza pie lunches, coffee and donuts for lunch, or for breakfast, brewskis and burgers at night. Loved it. That was my juice, right? And there's a point in time where I started recognizing there needed to be a little better way. How do I, multiply myself? And I developed a term later I use a lot called force multiplier, but I didn't even know what that meant at the time. I just knew there was something else to do. But I would like to say I was just super visionary. It would sound better for my story, but I probably, there we are. I
Yeah,
probably,
that's
great,
true. We actually,
down,
there we met.
we were downtown Atlanta,
Yeah, I'm
but
sorry.
that's all right. I don't know that I'd have done some of the things that I've done in the last 5 years if it wasn't for COVID.
Right.
And it was one of those dark clouds that rolled in, and I had to make a decision. What do I do to see my customers? Because that's what I do. I had to come off of 11 out of 12 weeks of pretty much, 5 to 6 days on the road, hitting it hard, trade shows, sales meetings, customer events. All of a sudden couldn't travel. So I started drilling into what can I do, started guesting on a few podcasts, started doing some videos, just sort of started diving into how do I get in front of people when I can't travel, thinking
Right.
that it's going to be short-lived, right? Well, as we all know, that went from a couple weeks to get ahead of the curve to, a couple months to forever,
Right.
it seemed like. And so bottom line, to kind of fast forward this a little bit, I started seeing super benefits to podcasting, to the whole world of virtual, to digital. Here in Studio 1A, which is what I call my little area, which is because I only have one studio, so it's 1A because that sounds cool, right? But I could talk to thousands of people in a moment's time, versus when I'm on the road is one or two or three or four if I'm lucky, right, on a day trip. But then I had this really unique thing happen, guys, which was there was this concept out there of old school people that say, we're never going to do any of this. We're going to wait until it goes back to the quote old way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do. I already decided that the old way makes a lot of sense. The person to person, B2B is still people to people, right? But also, what do we do in the interim? And what do we do as a force multiplier? And then there's the other side of that where people are going, nobody's ever going to get on a plane in New York City and fly to Dallas for a day trip to see a customer and fly back. Never going to happen. It's all going to be virtual. Well, I call the BS on both of those. I feel, and that's where the hybrid, which I use in a lot of things, I kind of have coined myself as the hashtag hybrid road warrior Randy, because I was a road warrior for years. And I said, you know what? There's a way to hybrid these things, right? To do the both of them together. And so that's where the real content came from. Is I took my early years with my dad, what I learned on the farm growing up about building relationships, doing what you say you'll do. I tell a story in there in my early life about over-promising and under-delivering, which I did big time and really paid the price for with a customer, learned a big lesson. And then I go through my playbook. Not saying it's your playbook, but it's my playbook as to what I've done as a truly old school guy to become new school, and then to come back and kind of maneuver those into a workable hybrid scenario where you can in and out, in and out, in and out all day long. That's the short, wasn't that short, but short version of that whole thing.
That's very good. And by the way, I'm gonna flash this up here again so we can take a look at your what your manuscript looks like, so to speak. You mentioned, just real quick as I post up the book, and you want to get high tech, you mentioned that you can get the paperback is available now as well as the ebook. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. As of today, the ebook is available and the soft cover is available.
Okay.
We'll be dropping the hardcover in probably 7 to 10 days. So all will be available. All available on Amazon.
Nice.
Probably early August. I'll also make it available on my ibuyfromrandy.com website. It'll be easy to follow for anybody that would want some bundle pricing. You know, if they want to buy 5 or 10 for their sales team or whatever the case may be. And if you'd like a signed copy, but that'll take the $16.99 book and make it worth $0 once I sign it. But still, in case you want the signed copy, it'll be available via the website too. So
okay.
Yeah, but thank you. Yep.
That's great, Randy. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm going to get into these questions because, we're going to keep you on task. You got to tell me about your dad. I know he had to be an influence of some sort. Everybody has a father.
Yes.
So when you look back at your dad as maybe one of your mentors, what do you think he's thinking about if he was alive today to see you write this book? And you're talking about things you perhaps learned from him and you grew up on, and you've taken it to the next level. And I'll shut up and let you expound on that.
He would say very little because he was a man of very few words, and he didn't have to say much to get your attention. But the words he would say would fill the book in just those few words. He would probably say, "Good work, proud of you, son," something along that line, and that would be it.
Right.
But see, he doesn't need to say any more than that. He never needed to say any more. That was plenty enough. My whole life growing up as a kid with him was to please him and to make him proud. And so, like I said, that was the real reason for writing the book. All the other things, I mean, I have other reasons to write the book, which we can talk about, but that was the number one guiding force at the whole time. Was every single page was, would this meet Dad's approval? Because if it didn't, then it wasn't going in. Right. Regardless if it was a great story or not, it wouldn't have went in if it didn't meet his approval.
And Randy, what industry was your dad in? What was he? Was he in a similar industry as this? What you're doing, or?
Kind of. He grew up as a farmer.
Okay.
And I grew up on the farm with him. Growing up early on the farm, 3.5 miles out of a small little town of 1,201 people, which always seemed weird to me. but 12. I always went because why don't they make it 1200?
1201.
1201 is weird, but a little town of Carson City in the middle of the state of Michigan,
Right.
and so growing up with him, uh, he he was the only guy I had every day because 3.5 miles out of town, back in the day, mom or dad would have taken me into town to see friends, right? Especially in the younger years. So my growing up was playing on the farm or tagging along with him wherever he was, riding the tractor.
Right.
I remember there was a picture once that, for the life of me, I can't find anymore, of when I was probably 7, 8 months old, and mom wanted me to be on the tractor with him. I think he had to go into town, and he put me in a little jacket out in the
Mhm.
field with Spot, the collie, laying beside me, and he knew when I woke up because the collie stood up when it was kind of barking. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
my life growing up on the farm with him. And so, but he was farmed. Then he got to doing grain bins and dryers for on farm and for grain elevators. And
Mhm.
then he got into the post frame building world. So my industry, which is metal roofing and the post frame building world, really started back with my dad. And kind of a key little point to my theory, my belief in hybriding these things together came from dad being a pioneer seed dealer. And we
Oh,
talk about
really?
that in the book a little bit about a trip we made when the rain was coming and the valuable lesson I learned of doing what you say you'll do for your customers. But in the world of seeds, you hybrid seeds. You hybrid for whether it's a drought area or whether it's a short season, a long growing season. So you hybrid different seeds together or different plants together
Right.
to come up with the seed that makes sense for specific areas. It's called hybriding, and that's where I came up, really from that days on the farm. It just made sense that if you can hybrid seeds, you can hybrid a way of doing business, right? So that's where that came from. Lot of from the past. So I grew up in the industry. I like to tell people I'm really smart, but they think I wasn't smart enough to get out of it, I guess. But you know, but it's a place I love and want to do forever.
Well, you always mention about living it, loving it, on a lot of your posts, and become part of it. It's real obvious when you, and I met you face to face, that you're really into what it is that you're doing out there. Because I remember you said, "Hey, Mark, I don't have a lot of time." Of course, I had things to do. I had
Hmm.
attendees and exhibitors to see, and you said, "Hey, I got to get ready, I'm going to speak on this panel." So I think we tried to hook up at the end, but we really couldn't, I guess, because you had other things going on. But it's real apparent, your approach. uh, did you learn that on your own? Did somebody teach this to you? Did you learn from other people watching them? Can you like lay like a little mini blueprint of how you approach your daily, you know, I don't want to say methodology, but your sales mentality, when you're engaging with potential customers or existing clients, how's that work?
Well, and you're right. The love, love it, to love it, live it, and own it.
Right.
And I like to say a lot is love what you do and do what you love, right? And it's easier said than done. But I think you have to strive for that. I've been blessed to just love this industry, um, love the people, love the products. Um, but I love the, so I don't want to call this. I'm going to call it the sales game. It's more than a game. It's serious. It's
Sure.
important. But
Sure.
I get up to go play the game every day, and I don't mean that as lightly. I don't mean that it's somewhat of a toxic environment, or what I mean by it is I just enjoy selling because I don't look at selling. I have to do the air tags because I don't sell anybody anything. I used to. Other lessons I learned as a young guy. Believe me, as a young guy, I got to talk a lot, listen none, and convince you how smart I am, and hammer you till I get the sale, whether you need it or not. I was,
Right.
that's what I was too, early. But I don't sell anybody anything. I just assist them in buying the right product at the right time that they want or need, right? I mean, you could throw a lot of big names on that. Zig Ziglarisms, that's a lot of people that talk that mentality. But I think more people talk that than they actually live it. And I think once you just understand that every day I have an obligation to my manufacturers, to my family, and I have an obligation to the customer to present the right options and to also to guide them the right way. But that also means to guide them not to do something if it's not a good fit for them, right? And so I think that when you find yourself talking about products to people that you enjoy, it's no longer work with an asterisk. There's days, right? There's days that suck, but you got a mantra I try to follow that, guys, is don't turn 20 minutes of suck into 20 days or 20 weeks or 20 years, right? It's
Right.
You're always going to have that. No day's perfect, or no season is perfect, but it's important to do what you love, and
Right.
I would encourage people to, if you're not, figure out why you don't and see if you can fix it, or maybe you got to find something to do that you love, because life is short and life is long at the same time, right? And if you're just miserable every day, and I've been blessed to not be miserable. Most days I'm pretty happy with a moment of misery when you don't like something, right? But yeah, you get over it.
I got a question.
Yeah, Tom.
No matter what type of sales you're in, you're dealing with always an issue of price. I've always, through my experience, I was old school as well. Then moved into consultative selling, then moved into relationship selling. How do you tell a new young person out there in the sales business to not sell on price, but sell on value? And what are the points of value that you would want to make sure you put on the table with your customer?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tom, and it's one that probably everybody struggles with, even experienced guys from time to time, right? But I try to remind myself, and I would tell the young guys, whether young in age or just young in the world of sales, is that price is part of the equation, but not the most important in most cases. There's going to be that price buyer, that no way around it. But most people were taught at an early age, or we learn at an early age, whether we're taught or not, that price is the easiest objection to make as a buyer. And so if we want to be a smooth, suave buyer, the first thing we want to do is, well, man, that's pretty expensive. That's pretty high. You're higher than somebody else. All those statements. But I think it's only an issue in the absence of proving the value of the proposition, right? So I try to, if I've got hit on before. I remember a time in New York State, Tom, where I wasn't more than about 12 and a half seconds in the door, I think. And the guy said, "Oh yeah, you're that screw salesman guy." Says, "What I really just want to know is what's the price." And then I said, "What I'd really like to know, sir, with due respect, is what difference does it make?" And he looks at me. He goes, "Well, it's kind of important." I said, "Well, I'm sure it is when we get a few minutes in, but I'm either way too high or way too little, depending on whether I'm bringing you any value or I'm not, right? So let's try to get to the fact of, I want to do my 4.5 hour dog and pony show, okay? But can we get to what you need, what you want, what I bring to the table, and let's try to discuss price and see if the value of what I bring to you is worth it or not." So I think the other biggest thing, though, that young sales guys fall into is they become too empathetic with their customer. Empathy's good, but if you go overboard and I guess where I'm coming with this, Tom and Mark, is that I would never pay this kind of money for this. Man, I'm going to go sell this because that's how I make a living, but man, that's a lot of money. Don't put yourself in your buyer's shoes from a standpoint of automatically assuming that it's going to be too high priced. Number one, if you believe that your product's too high priced, you got some work to do, because you have got to convince yourself that it's not too high priced, that the value is there for it. So if you go in there with this mindset that I'm going to try to sell this, but this guy's probably never going to buy it because A, B, C, and D, you've already convinced yourself he's not, and almost everybody has enough perceptional abilities, that's a word, I'm going to use it, that they're going to pick up on that real fast, that you don't really believe that this is a good value, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's really important to remember. And what I like to do is, we used to think about the triad, or the triangle, I should say, of price, quality, service, and that's the way everybody always says it. I've tried to train myself to say uh, quality, service, price, but then I've tried to elongate that into a box and put relationships in there too, because I think the relationships becomes a big part of that equation, as long as you take the time and the effort to build that trust and relationship. I don't know if I'd answered that question, but
Oh, that was good. That was good.
You know,
And
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I was just jumping in here with a little something that we teach at Sales Concepts. It's called EQ,
hmm,
and it talks about like salespeople with high emotional intelligence are seen as more trustworthy, less pushy, better listeners, more consultative. They build stronger, what you talked about, relationships, which enables you to have a shorter sales cycle. Not always, but and there's no like the answer to all this, what we were just talking about.
right.
But I just thought I'd share that.
Oh,
And
I
that,
like that.
it's
That's
always, it's always a challenge,
it is.
because someone's invariably going to say, "How much is it, Randy?"
Right. Well, and I think that the thing we have to remember is, everybody likes to buy, but nobody likes to be sold.
There you
So
go. I've
quit
heard that
selling.
somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
quit selling. It just quit selling. I mean, and when and actually be careful, because I'm dealing with two old sales pros here, and a lot of people that
Oh, you're
watch your
fine.
podcast are sales pros, right? So
Yeah.
I'm in an audience that gets it. You have to be really careful with certain people, because they'll go, "Oh, I thought that was, you're supposed to be selling." End of the day, I would like to get a deal that's a lasting deal, that I'll get return and repeat business, and I'll get referrals for. If you want to call that selling, yes, we can call that selling, right? But there's more to it, especially in the B2B world, right? And I think the last thing I would say to one of the questions was, I'm a B2B guy, but all sales, maybe unless it's $1 trillion government to government deals, sealed
Right.
bid type stuff, but
Sure.
most deals, even in B2B, are still P2P, right? It's still people to people. There's still
Right.
a sales guy, whatever my title is, and a buyer, whatever your title is. But somewhere or another, you and I have to come to an understanding that we're going to have a win-win scenario here together, doing this together. And I think, uh, we it can't be all relationships, but you got to build some relationship there. And
Right.
but you build, and this is an interesting one. I don't this is the old podcast host coming out of me now. I don't mean to reverse it back.
Fine,
I've
fine.
probably asked you guys this when you've been on my show, but it's at what point do we back away from that customer? At what point do we back away from
Right.
pushing too hard? Because it's easy to get commission breath, right? And customers can smell that all day long. All this
Right.
dude just wants is the sale.
Right.
And it's not going to be, if it's a one-off sale and it's never going to be again, I don't even buy it totally there, because there's still referral opportunities, right? There's
Sure.
still recommendation opportunities. But in the B2B world, I'm not looking just for your order today. We have to have that one to get to the next step and the next step and the next step. But I'm looking for a relationship where, we're doing this 5 years from now.
Right.
And you're calling up customers on my behalf and saying, "Hey, I heard, Randy said he was going to call on you. I happen to know who you are. Make sure you talk to Randy. I mean, he's a guy you need to know."
Sure.
That's the only way you get to that, is when you build that trust, right? And build that relationship. If all you did is have the best price today, and that would be my parting words on that, Tom, with the price thing. It if it's always, if the order or the business is always gained just because of price, it'll be a one off or a two off or a five off, but it won't be a forever, because that only means you got the order today because you happen to be the cheapest today, or they've ran the gamut with somebody else, and they ran through their credit and they can't get it anymore, and so now they need somebody else, right? Which is somebody I don't really want anyway, because if they didn't pay them, they're probably not going to pay my
Yeah.
manufacturers, and now
Yeah.
I'm not doing my job for them, right?
I'm going to bounce something off you. I'm a certified personal development coach by Bob Proctor, Prosperity Thinking. Something I learned it is about me asking a high ticket item or a large amount. I've never sold a Boeing 707, right? If you have a lack mentality, I haven't got the money in my bank account to buy a 707. How can I convince this guy to buy a 707? So it really comes down, just so any feedback on this, what I found is your strength is what goes on in the subconscious, your belief about money, your relationship about money, asking for a big ticket check, those type of things. What's your relationship? If you have a lack mentality or don't have good relationship about money and prosperity, it's going to be hard for you to ask for that big check. So what's your feedback on it?
No, I think you're spot on, right? And said very well, Tom. You're exactly right. For example, if you're in a point in your young life where you could never afford a $45,000 roof, okay, but that doesn't mean that this 52-year-old couple that's been working their whole life might easily afford that. They may be in a great position to afford that. They make judgments sometimes, and I've seen this in the home improvement world, which I don't really do, but I sell product that gets into that world, so I know these folks some, is they'll pull up to a driveway, and they're going, oh, look at this house. There's no way they're going to be able to afford my product.
Oh, my, yeah.
But what they don't understand is maybe they're just very good with their money. Maybe Aunt Millie just died 3 months ago and left them with, $500,000. You don't know what's going on. But you allowed I can't spend that kind of money. I can't imagine anybody could. I can never see myself. There's a lot of young salesmen, before they've got to a point where they can do that, they're going, I'm never going to be able to afford that. I don't know how anybody does that. Well, you're going to be short-lived probably for the world of success in sales if you don't find a way to work around. Like you said, Tom, work with people like you guys, work around that, and quit putting your ideas on what you can and can't afford, or can and can't do, or what something is or isn't worth, and quit putting it on your customer, because you have no clue. You just met this person. It's probably just a lead that came in 3 days ago that you're out running right now, right? You don't know. So quit putting that. That's what you're there for, to investigate, to chat, to find out, to see what their needs and wants are. So I think we as salespeople, besides talking too much sometimes, I think, and buying orders back, I think many times we over empathize with what we think are people's abilities or inabilities, and we make judges that we have no place to be making, and it only comes back to hurt us.
Yeah, because that's something I learned about myself.
Right.
And once I got through that understanding, how I was raised, my relationship with money, and how my parents spent money, so on and so forth, dictated a lot of my belief system about asking for the check. And
Right.
Once I got through that understanding, changed my mindset to prosperity thinking, I'm worthy of all those type of things. Basically, what I'm spouting here is I believe every salesperson should do personal development training, understanding how we think, why we think what we think, how to change your mind, how we operate at a subconscious level. That communication going on in the sales process, a lot of it's being dictated and driven by your subconscious.
Right. Yep.
And if you can recognize your first thoughts in your relationship with that customer, it'll dictate which way that your conversation is going to go. The outcome.
Good stuff. Exactly. Yeah. Our own mind can be our own worst enemy at times.
Yeah.
We can get in our own way a lot.
So thank you, Tom. That was a great point. It is about your mindset when you go into these things. Here we go, because everybody's talking and screaming about this, and you're an old sales warrior. So, with the advent of this bad boy that's out there now, AI, everybody's into it. What do you see and how do you see the sales process going now? Um, with implementation of AI, I've heard things before I turn you loose that it can walk, talk, make calls, meet customers, all sorts of claims. I'm not knocking the tool. I think it's a great tool. And with that said, I'll let you answer it, Randy.
Well, and I love that question because as a somewhat older guy, love AI. I'm enamored by what it can do. But a key word I just jotted it down so I wouldn't forget. Key word you just said was tool. It's a tool. It's not. I love that.
Coming for us. Did you see that? You feel like, oh my God, is this thing going to replace me? I'm sorry, guys. I didn't mean to. I
I
digress.
love that. That's a great visual.
Little humor. Sorry.
There are. I'm going to answer this two ways. My thoughts. There are going to be jobs that will be taken over by AI. But you know what? When Henry Ford started making automobiles, you didn't need as many horseshoers or what are they? Not horse, smiths.
Blacksmiths?
Blacksmiths. Thank you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, but you had you need people to make wheels or people to make, assemble cars. So there's going to be some change probably in certain areas.
Right.
But with that said, in the world of sales, it's still, especially in high ticket sales, it's still there's still that relationship, there's still that trust, there's still that I want somebody that I feel, well, let me say this. The old adage of people, if all things being equal, people buy from who they know, like, and trust, and our friend Ben Gay always adds to that, and feel safe with, right? There he is.
This gentleman right here.
That guy right there. Man, a guy that I'm blessed to have in my life. Great man. But you can't develop that with AI. Okay.
Right.
So, but I have on my cell phone, Chat GPT is right there on the very front screen. I use it all day long.
Sure.
I don't. I do not want to be disingenuous. So I did not write my book with it. I don't write articles that I write for magazines with it. I don't just stick it in there and say, write me a 2,000 word article. And then I just go, okay, that's great, and send it. I'll use it for idea generation. I'll use it for grammar check.
Sure.
I'll use it for, and I'm talking just in the writing world now. I'll use it for, I'm stumped. I hate this sentence or this paragraph. I need something better because this just sounds awful. Give it to me in Randyism though, right? Don't just give me your Chat GTP phraseology because there's a lot of that out there. So I think there's things you can. It just you can make you better at what you do, and quicker. And I use it as a search engine. I use Chat more than I use Google now for a search engine.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll double check if I'm not sure I fully agree with it or not, or want a different take. But there's so many other automated places in the sales world. I was at the National Frame Builders Association meeting in Knoxville, and I had an opportunity to introduce one of our speakers, who Kevin Fox with Foxworks, who is from the Fortune 500 world, and now he's an AI guru. And his talk, the first thing he said, and I thought it was so good, was he looked out at everybody and he goes, a lot of people will tell you that AI is the future. Then he just looked at everybody. He says, it's not. That's false. He says, it's right now. It's not the future. This is not something that's coming. And he said, I'm going to talk to you for an hour and 15 minutes-ish. And by the time I'm done talking, something that I know has already changed. That's how fast it's evolving. And so he talked a lot about, and this is where I think it's going to really, I'm going to come back to answering your question, is like, do you call into an office after 5 o'clock, and all you do is you leave a message on a voice recorder that you hope somebody calls back, maybe they call back, maybe nobody does? Or do you get an AI that's that's properly installed bot that actually can ask you questions and can get information, can give you some approximate ideas, whatever it is that you want it to do. I think then you think about it, the next day that salesperson gets that lead and it's already at least pre-qualified, right? It's they're and plus, you know, if you feel like, okay, I gave some answers to somebody, I know it's not a real person, but I gave some answers to somebody, so when somebody calls me back, we don't have to start from A, we can start from F or G or someplace, right? So I think there's a lot of places AI's going to be beneficial, but here's and I talked to a lot of people that hate it. They're scared of it. That visual you had a minute ago, that's what they see. I don't think so.
Put it up there again. Yeah,
there it is.
There it is.
I don't think so. But you know what? Here's my stance on that, and this is just maybe my weird way of thinking. If it is, we're all screwed anyway. But if it's not, I want to be on the leading edge of using it to the best advantage and the best of my abilities that I can use it. Right? So it's like people worry about sometimes going into, and they make investments a little bit in their business. And Tom, you talk about this as a businessman too, and a money guy. There's times to cut back. There's time to be safe, but there's also times to roll the dice and take the risk right now, because you know what? If all things go totally bad, again, we're all screwed anyway. At some point, I might as well take the shot, roll the dice, take the risk, a calculated risk. And that's where I see with AI is I'm not fearful of it. It doesn't scare me in the slightest. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to be afraid of it. But like I said, I use it a lot, and I don't think it's going to hurt us. I think we're still going to need to be a Randy as a seller talking to a Tom the buyer and develop that know, like, trust, and feel safe with relationship, especially on big ticket items or on B2B world. You know, again, we all buy stuff off of Amazon, right? I mean, you can buy my book on Amazon soon, right now. I mean, if he was a nice guy, somebody'd be buying it right now. That's a salesman, see? But the point is that
buy his book now.
Buy it now. But that's small ticket stuff, right? You don't need a relationship with me to buy my book. You're gonna spend $8.99 for a Kindle or $16.99 for a soft. Big deal, right? That's a big deal. Who cares? Big ticket stuff, you need more of that trust level, more of that confidence level before you make that decision. So I think it fits, and I think it's nothing to be afraid of. The only thing to be afraid of, who was it that said, I'd sound really smart if I remembered this, but nothing to fear but fear itself, right? FDR said that. Thank you.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that plays into
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Yes,
you newer folks out there.
The younger folks, yes.
Youngers, yeah.
I think there's nothing truer to be said, no truer words to be said when it comes to AI. Just quit worrying about it. Cautious, maybe, if you want. I mean, but I'm not afraid of it, and I love it, and I think it's gonna. I attempt to get better every single day, and I just so many things I've learned about prompts and you know, asking it. The biggest thing, and again, I know you didn't want to go hours on AI, but I'll tell you this: the one thing I've learned recently that's helped me a lot is I'm asking it to question me until it's 95% positive that it knows what I'm asking and what I'm looking for.
Right.
And to do not be a yes man to me. I need you to be brutally and devastatingly, if necessary, honest with me.
Honest.
So if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. Because the one thing I found, at least with chat that I use, it likes to be your friend a little. It likes to tell you, oh my God, that's a great idea. Well, I don't want you to tell me that. If it sucks, tell me it sucks, because you and me, nobody else knows but you and me, right? So I call mine Chester. I said, Chester, I don't think it's that good, so start over. Tell me where I'm wrong with this. Well, since you asked, then so that's just for anybody that's maybe new to using it. I've got way better at demanding it hold me accountable.
That's interesting.
I love the AI for my grammar checks.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Or rephrasing,
Yes. And rephrasing is good. Sometimes it's like, and that's where I'll use. I'm writing a blog, and it's like, I read it 3 times, and I said, that really sucks. It's saying what I want to say, but I hate the way it sounds.
Yeah, it can help you improve an
Yeah.
outline, some statements,
Yep.
Grammar,
Yep. Grammar's
punctuation.
a big one. Yeah,
yeah.
because believe me, Gail, my editor for my book, I drove her crazy because she really had to learn my unique inability to always be really good at grammar. Oh, well, that should be a
They
comma,
probably
not
said, "Where'd you learn to write at? Who taught
well.
you?" Oh,
She referred to me as the ellipsis king because the ellipsis, the three dots. Well,
right.
I love ellipsis for some reason, and I know I use them 98% of the time where they don't belong. So when
Wow.
I stick something I write in and have chat now do the grammar, I'll
Mhm.
tell it eliminate any what do I say? But I just copy and paste it now. But basically, eliminate any grammatical errors, fix grammatical errors, and eliminate all the unneeded ellipses. And then I'll sometimes put in parentheses, which is probably a lot, and chat laughs back at me. I mean, we have
Oh, wow.
conversations.
Oh, wow.
It says, "Yeah, Randy, you got probably." So it'll say, it calls me hybrid Randy. It says, "Yeah, there's about 9 out of 11 you don't need." All right, well, get rid of those then. Put a comma there. What do we put there? Comma, a colon, a period? I don't know. Put something there that makes sense because
Jeez.
obviously I don't know.
New paragraph.
Yes. Oh, good stuff though.
I'm
But AI,
bringing-
don't be afraid.
I'm going to bring in this one. This
Mhm.
gets asked a lot, from potential employers, executive VP of sales, VP of sales and marketing, directors of sales. Like, what would you say is one of the most important behavior or behaviors you look for when you identify in a sales professional? What do you look for, Randy?
Wow.
I mean,
Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say you're running a business. So if you were to hire somebody and look for somebody, what would like stick out in your particular mindset? Like, hey, this is what I want for this position. This is the type of, we understand your credo and where you're coming from. So what do you think is important?
Well, I think you want to understand. I think early on, there's trainables and untrainables, right?
Right.
I can train you to all the bells and whistles and the features and benefits of any widget that I have. That's just learning stuff, right? It's we spend enough time, you'll learn what this widget is and why it works and how it works and how it compares to competitors. Uh, Learning the widget is relatively easy depending on the complexity. I mean, I'm not selling heart valves, so that would be a little tougher. But um, I think the important thing is, again, back to what we said earlier, um, it's still a people business. So you need to present yourself uh, properly, professionally, friendly, and as yourself, because that's a statement I like to talk about a lot with people, and they'll listen. Is out of 8.5 billion people or whatever it is on planet Earth, every one of us is the best number one of one thing, and that's being us, right?
Right.
Not, you both are high trained, experienced experts, but I will destroy you every single day at being Randy. You, right, Mark? You will destroy me every day at being Mark. I can
Right.
try to copy you. I can try to copy what
Right.
Tom does, but I can't carry it out. I can only carry out me. So a willingness to be yourself and not try to be what I think a salesman is, because we've all got salespeople, sales pros have got a justifiable bad rap over the years. The fast talking, the blue suede shoes sales guy, all that
Right.
stuff. I happen to talk a lot, and I probably talk loud, and I probably talk fast. I just that's me. I can't not do that. And if I tried to train myself to not do that, I would
Right.
come across as totally disingenuous to you because you
Right.
would see right through it that I'm somehow, you wouldn't know what it was, but that's not Randy being honest, and I don't even know him. Flip side, so I can't be this quiet guy. Now, I can mirror some, and I think that's fair. If depending on the type of buyer, if you're a buyer that wants a lot more control of this conversation and you need that, it behooves me to back up a step or two, right?
Right.
And allow you to maybe feel more in charge and have a little more say, because you're going to push back to where you toss me out the door if I don't allow you to have that. But trying to be honest in who you are, know when to be empathetic to people, know when
Sure.
to be sympathetic to people, but also understand you still have a job to do. And my job is to present you with this product, service, in the best light I can, and see if it makes sense for you. Those are all things you can teach some of it, you can train some of it, but some of that, I think, you need to walk in the door with some of those basic abilities. For an example, if you walked in and you know the job is to be a professional salesperson, you're going to sell high ticket items, right?
Right.
If you walk in, I'm not saying you got to come in a suit and tie in today's world. I'd have a sport coat on, but that's me. But if you walk in with tattered jeans and an untucked polo shirt that's got a little dirt on it, your hair relatively okay, and you barely shake my hand and you plop down in the chair, I'm going to stand up, shake your hand, and say, thanks for coming, because we're done already. Because I can't teach that.
Right.
I'm going to correct that. I don't have the time, desire, or want to teach that, if that makes sense.
I got
Because
you.
I can teach you the widgets. But if you don't know how to walk in, if you can't walk into me as a guy that has your whole potential livelihood literally across the desk and be a professional and present yourself as such, what are you going to do when you're out there by yourself when I'm not watching? What are you going to do when you're out there on the road for days and days and months and months? You take guys like me that are reps, even as independent rep agencies, we still have a quote boss, which is a VP of sales or somebody at manufacturers that we work for, right? They don't see us for months at a time. They have to trust that we're out doing what we're supposed to be doing, right? And I think that's probably the most important thing that I would look for, more than I would rather hire less ability to fire off 17 different points about the features and benefits of this widget. I'd rather have less of that and a guy that or gal that's very intuitive, very friendly, very personable, wants to build a relationship, shake hands, look in the eye, and comes from an integrity-based, ethics-based background. And you get that by talking to them, by the interview process. So I think we do ourselves no favors by hiring or promoting or overly engaging, if I'm going to be brutally honest, with the old school hard sell, close at all cost salespeople. And I say that with, I'm a closer. I like them. I like money, kind of like it. That's how you keep score, kind of like it. But if we remember that it's never a good deal unless it's a good deal for both parties. And that only comes from a willingness to be ethical, moral, integrity. And so that's what I would look for more than, I can tell you, I researched it online, and I can tell you the 14 different points about your screw and why it's better than everybody else's screw. Yay. Okay. And AI could do that too, right? Going back, just tell it to go to the website and it'll give you a printout in about less than a nanosecond, right?
Right.
That's not that impressive. That we can learn. We can't learn the other stuff.
I'm going to throw another idea at you here. Is through my experience, I've hired a lot of sales people in the past, but I didn't learn this until I wish I'd have known it 40 years ago when I started my sales management path. Is something that I would be looking for if I was in that position today, would be something that's alignable with my values. Number one, I think that's important. Mm-hmm. Not they have to be 100%, but there's a common alignment there, because I think that opens up dialogue, trust, and all those things are involved. But I really want to know what that person's why. What gets them up in the morning? Is it not just to make a big paycheck? Do they have other purposes in life that they want to make a difference in the world? Not just for my company, come in and tell me all the value I'm going to bring to the company. I'm going to be able to help you generate more revenue, blah, blah, blah. But what drives you in life? I want to know that. their why and their purpose.
And I think that's very valuable, because if you don't have the why, and that's a great point, Tom, I love that. If you don't have the why, the other is just an exercise. The why is what's going to bring you every day to the table to do the things that you need to do, and you need to do, and to do them the right way. If you got the why, and if you're operating from a place of that you talked about, of integrity, and there's a reason why you're doing that, because the paychecks, they go up, they go down, they come, they go. The why is probably should always be the why, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of it's family, a lot of it's just doing good for the community. Whatever your reasons are, as long as it's your reasons and they're legit, I think they're legit reasons.
Yeah, that's always the button when they're struggling, is bring them back to their why. That's their button. That's their motivator. Get them back on their motivational track. I think it's important.
Love it.
So my next thing is, this is a philosophical question, but in your opinion, what needs to improve in the world of sales, if anything?
Well, I think the last 2 or 3 we've really kind of drilled in on a lot of that.
Right.
Is we need to elevate the game, and I call it the game because it's fun and I have a good time at it. We need to elevate the game of sales to where it's what it truly is, which is a profession, right? I mean,
Right.
arguably the world's oldest profession, right? Everybody's in sales, right? I don't care whether you're. I opened a talk I gave a while back at a show someplace, and I had this group of guys, and this will get to the point of what I'm trying to say, I guess, is I said, how many's in sales here? Raise your hand. About half the room. I said, the other half, I said, what are you guys doing? I drive forklift. I do that. Well, you're not in sales? No. I said, you guys got significant others? Oh, yeah, we do. I said, well, based on the look of you guys, not the most handsome dudes in the room, you must have been pretty good at sales, because you sold yourself on the fact that this young lady or just young man, life would be better with you in it as opposed to not in it, right? There's a light here. Think about it. Pastor of a church. Come on, they're in sales. Let's face it.
Right.
Their idea is, I need to sell you on the value of coming to church, the value of being in my church, the value of giving and being involved with the events and the good things we do. So I think if nothing else, back to what can we do? All of us together are all salespeople, and if we take that as but us guys that have the true title of that, I guess, is elevate that game. Elevate that game so that when people will go, oh, Randy, Tom, Mark, you guys are sales guys. Man, you guys are all right. I love you guys, man. You do things the right way. You lead by example. You care more than, as Tom said earlier, I think you care the why. You care more than just the dollar. You're willing to walk away from this deal if it's not right for me, the customer, right? I think that's the one biggest thing we can do, because the old saying that high tides raise all ships, right? I think that as a salesperson, regardless of what industry or service that we are involved with, we need to not be looked upon as that sleazy salesperson that's just out to screw people, out to nail people, out to make money at any cost, because I think most of us aren't. But we over time, it's like any jobs, there's reputations that follow that have preceded us. So I think it's behooves all of us, and I think we all have a responsibility, and probably us guys that are ever so slightly older have a real responsibility to lead by example, and to talk and preach and teach where we can, anybody that'll listen, and it's mostly by example. This is how you conduct yourself if you're a sales pro, and I think that's the biggest thing we can do, probably.
Well, guys, you're not going to believe this. It's already at the hour of 7 o'clock, but I have been feverishly putting Randy's info down here below, and I would recommend, if you haven't, go check him out on a Friday on his Building Wins. Wes White is the guy behind the scenes, and Wes, I know, does some things as well. So Randy and him have collaborated, and it's pretty neat stuff. What he's talking about now, he is the guy on the other end of the mic, so to speak. So he gets a chance to. And
what time is that on Fridays?
3 o'clock on Fridays. We drop the vlogcast at 3 o'clock on Friday, and then we drop the podcast early morning on Monday. So
look at that. And here's how you can get in touch with Randy. And the email's legit, the phone number's legit, and rumor has it that if you call that number, this man will pick up. So
I will pick up.
Kudos to that. And Randy, I just want to say thank you for sharing. I know you're very busy at what it is that you do, and I'd be totally remiss. This is what we were talking about tonight, guys. So do go check out his book. You can get the e-copy, e-version of it right now, or the paperback. And I think and Randy said within a week, the hardback will be available. Yep. But there it is. And I'm looking forward to getting that bad boy myself and reading up on it.
You know, it's funny, real quick. It's funny is that at the last minute, that was not going to be Asphalt and Algorithms. We made a title change at the very end.
Really?
That was going to be My Journey to Hyrid.
Oh, okay.
And a lesson real, because I know we're out of time, but listen to people that know what they're doing. So I have an editor, and I have a marketing team, a husband-wife team that did the jacket design. They did all the formatting.
It's very nice, yeah.
Thank you. And give me a lot of opportunities. So one day they sat down and they said, okay, we got to talk to you about your title. And I says, I'm married to the title. I'm not changing it. Well, we need to talk to you. I'll listen, right? And they talked me through this process. And I said, okay, I'm following you in my mind. I'm going, okay, these are the pros, right? I said, let me think about it for a day or two. I called him back the next day and I said, yeah, I think I'm good with it. And Rich says, nope, call me back in another day. I said, why? He says, I think I'm good with it. It's not good enough. He said, you're going to have to talk about this thing 1,000 times. You have to tell people why they should buy this book, why you put into this book, and you've got to own it and love it. So no, call me back in a day or two. And so the more I looked at it, the more it met everything that I really meant to talk about.
He kind of flipped the script on you, Randy.
They did.
Own it and love it, and
They did. So my real point to that is when you surround yourself or have a team of people, you want to hire people better than you, because otherwise, what's the reason for hiring them, right? And then you better listen. I know a lot about marketing my products. I don't know anything about marketing books. I didn't. Right. I know a lot more now than I did already, but I need to listen to these people. And best choice I ever made. I love the title. I love the book design they did. It's been a great blast, and I'll probably always be writing a book now. It's got in my blood somehow.
Well, there you go.
Dan Altmeyer just said Randy is the man. So,
Dan, thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate it. Love to hear what you think about the book, man. So, well, thank you guys. I appreciate being on.
And thank you, Robert, Dan, and
Robert.
all you other people that are out there listening. Please like and share it. Send it to somebody. You never know. It may make an impact on someone. That's what we're all about here, is this whole platform that Tom and I came up with back, I don't know, what is it now, 3-4 years ago? It was about to learn from one another. And I learned so much every time somebody comes on here. I don't care the industry. It's always an education. It's always fun. And, it keeps me going. And Robert says, I'm in a meeting right now where the host is doing real estate role play with an AI agent. Oh, that must be cool. Yeah, that must be cool. I always love, when I call Robert Brooker, Canada, because, that is where the man is from. So kind of cool. But Randy, I do want to say thank you again. And just in case, if you're hopping on here at the last minute, what we talked about essentially was this bad boy right here, Asphalt and Algorithms, and you need to go check it out.
Yes,
And it is available.
It's available today.
Yep. So, Randy, thank you again for being here on Elevate Your Profits. Tom, you got any closing words before
Just thank you. We're grateful that you're able to make it and share your wisdom, your knowledge, your insight, and just your presence and how you communicate is a good sign of what success looks like.
Oh, well, kind words. And I appreciate you guys and your show and what you bring to the 3-4 years you've been doing it. I never fail to catch at least most of it. Sometimes
I don't know how good we are at
Well,
it, but there's hope, I guess, if us old guys can do this.
Well, that's what I figure. Look at us guys, that we're all older than younger, and if we can do this stuff on a regular basis, and you're 33 years old and you're saying I can't do that, then you're being a little bit lazy and not realizing what you can accomplish.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
Go do it. Just go do it. Take the risk. Roll the dice.
That's what I love about you, Randy. Just go out.
Last one. Climb to the 84th floor.
Yeah.
Jive off and figure out how to fly on the way down.
Oh my goodness. And on that note, Randy, I'm going to put you in the green room real quick, and Tom and I are going to close this bad boy out.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Thanks again, Randy. Well, there you go, man. We got a book, we got Randy, we got Hyrid. It's all happening here, Tom, on Elevate Your Profits.
I'm looking forward to get his book, and anything we do to help Randy
absolutely,
its cause and mission. We're here to do that. So we appreciate Randy.
And I just want to say thanks for everybody who might have been listening behind the scenes, and feel free to like, tag, share. Like we say, you never know who this could impact, and that's what it's all about. So hopefully this made sense. And, if it didn't, we'll keep trying. We'll keep trying until we get it right, And doesn't that sound about right, Tom? We're going to keep going until we get it right.
With
that,
like a ball swing or a baseball swing, you just got to keep swinging.
You got it. You got to keep swinging for the fences, man. That's what it's about. Well, I'm going to say adios to everybody, and thank you again, Mark Gassert, Tom Ginn, Elevate Your Profits. And we're going to say adios, and we'll catch you next Monday.